Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Welcome, Relaxed Radio listeners. I'm your host, Dan Reardon, with co-host Dr. Krishna Bhatta. Krishna is the founder of the Relax.org app, and I'm the president of the Relax.org app, which can be downloaded from the App Store and the Play Store. You can visit us at relax.org. With us today is Dr. Sailesh Rao. He's the founder and executive director of Climate Healers. Welcome, Sailesh. We're excited to have you on the show, and let's dive right in and have you give us a bit of a background on Climate Healers and how you got into the concept of it, and we'll take off from there.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me. I'm
Sure.
actually a systems engineer by training, and that's I was working on the internet back in the 90s, and it was pretty successful. As you know, the internet took off. And then in 2005, I was working on making the internet 10 times faster, so 10 gigabit Ethernet. And then I came home one day and I was dog-tired. I plopped down on the sofa and I started watching Link TV, which is the public access channel for satellite TV. And there was Al Gore talking about climate change. And I was shocked because I had never heard of this before. And I was just rooted to my chair. I couldn't move, and I was watching. And at the end of that presentation, this was before an inconvenient truth had come out. Okay? This was before it became common knowledge everywhere. And so someone had just videotaped him presenting to a small group in San Francisco, and they put it on Link TV. So I told my wife, if half of what he's saying is true, I'm wasting my time. And she said, if you think it's that important, study it. I mean, we have the luxury to be able to do these things. So I started studying it, and I realized it's actually far worse than what he's saying. So I wrote to him, and I said, how can I help you? And I got trained by him in 2006, November. So he trained about 200 of us together to give his presentation. And I did that for about a year. That's what you find when you go and get trained by him. He asks you to give at least 10 presentations in the following year. So I did that. And at the end of that, I was dissatisfied because, basically, I'm an engineer. I like to do things. So I started Climate Healers in 2007. And the idea behind Climate Healers was to reverse climate change. Because the current discourse is all about making sure the fever doesn't go over 2 degrees Celsius or over 1.5 degrees Celsius. Basically, the Earth has fever, okay? Just like if we have a fever, and if you go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, wow, I'll make sure your fever doesn't go over 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius, you think this doctor is not doing a good job, right? And that's what we are doing to Mother Earth, right? And I said, no, we have to figure out how to reverse it. And so that was the intent in Climate Healers, and that's our goal, is how do you reverse climate change. And
so, Sailesh, so out of the 200 people that came to attend that course, how many continued to be proactive, like you are?
Oh, I think a lot of the people are still proactive, but they may be still talking about the framing that Al Gore uses. See, the way it is framed right now is that climate change is the biggest environmental issue, right, that we need to address, and that we need to make sure that the fever doesn't go over 1.5 degrees or 2 degrees Celsius. That's what everyone is focused on, and it's all about how do you change the energy infrastructure, okay, from fossil fuels to clean energy? So I think a lot of people are still involved. I see he has trained a lot more than 200 people now. I think a few thousand people he has trained. And there's a large group that gets online, and is active.
That's great.
So your approach is so unique. I mean, did it come from there, or was it your own work?
Well, I'm a systems engineer, so one of the things that we engineers do, especially systems engineers, is we try to look at the whole problem and figure out what is the right way to address it, right? So, because as engineers, we are trained to look for solutions. And when you look at the environmental problems, environmental challenges around, you realize that climate change is actually just a symptom. Fever is always a symptom. There is an underlying disease that's different in the fever. And unless you address the underlying disease, we are not going to solve the problem. Right? So that's how I started. And if you look closely, you realize that the underlying disease is our relationship with nature. What kind of relationship do we have with nature? We have a very extractive, exploitative relationship with nature. Because I think we have fundamentally, we are looking for happiness outside, as opposed to looking within. So we have been sold a bill of goods that happiness, the pursuit of happiness, is best accomplished by stoking and satisfying a never-ending series of latent desires in human beings. That's the story we are told. That's what Google is talking. That's what Facebook is promoting, right? Basically, all these ads are about stoking desires and then telling you how to satisfy them. So that's false. So when you start a civilization with a false premise, everything is going to go haywire. Just like in any engineering project, if you start with a false foundation, your project will not work. Right? So you won't be in alignment with nature. So that's the fundamental issue. And then, the second axiom that is driving our industrial civilization is the idea that life is a competitive game in which the privileged can enslave, exploit, and possess animals, nature, and the underprivileged for the pursuit of happiness. So, and then we have the privileged desperately trying to cling to their privilege, which makes it systemic. So you have a systemic issue that is driving humanity together over a cliff, and all of life actually over a cliff, because we are so powerful that we are literally destroying life in the process.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you started from this fantastic macro perspective, and I started on the complete opposite end at this very micro perspective of, hey, my body wasn't operating right, so I went to my engineering principles. And then as I awoke to how wrong I had it, I started to see these big macro things like, hey, the oceans are going to be depleted, from fish. Depending on what study you read, they're saying in like 2045 or, in a time frame that's not too far away. And it really woke me up to the bigger picture. And it kind of leads me into my next question, which is, I know you have this 2026 Prevent Year Zero campaign. And I wanted to get a status from you on that, because in there's a lot of data on the health of nature, on our planet, and just wanted to get an update on how we're progressing and how things are looking.
Well, things are not looking so good at the moment, but of course we are trying to bend the curve in the right direction, But so the way I looked at it was, okay, you have to look at like 2048. That number was the estimate of when the oceans are going to be lifeless. Literally all life will die out in the ocean. And that's basically looking at how fast we're extracting life from the ocean and how it's declining over time. Okay? And you look at that on land also, you will see there's a rapid decline happening. Now, I focused on just megafauna. Megafauna, which is animals that are in our weight class. Because we are taking up space on the planet in our weight class, right? And then, so we are sort of crowding all the other animals out. So it's not just us, it's us and our farmed animals. We are taking up space on the planet. So if you look at just the megafauna, which is animals greater than 25 kgs in weight, you will see the fastest decline. And you will see it going down to zero by 2026. Okay, all the wild animals population. If you look at the total biomass of all the wild animals, megafauna, they are on track to go to zero by 2026. So between 1970 and 2010, 52% declined. So it's a 52% decline in the biomass of wild megafauna, wild vertebrates, actually. So then between 1970 and 2012, it became 58%. And between 1970 and 2016, it's at 68%. So you can see this trend, where it's going to go to 100% by 2026. Then between 10,000 years ago in 1970, we had already wiped out 60% of those wild animals. So they are down like 90% now, 92% down by now, right? So I'm telling people, look, we are in desperate straits. We need to stop killing them. We need to stop thinking that, we can do whatever we want to the other animals and there will be no consequences. There are going to be consequences to this. And our children are going to look back on us as just as, the German children looked back on the Nazi era, right? It's the same kind of parallel that's happening to wild animals. And so that's why, I'm trying to do this campaign, trying to get people to wake up and say, we need to go vegan by 2026. Literally, we need to create this pull on the other side, right? That if we can get 100% vegan by 2026, or that's our goal, then maybe we'll get to 50%. So, but that makes people wake up, because once you put a line in the sand and say we need it to happen by 2026, people start asking questions. Why 2026? Then you can tell the story. Right? Why is it 2026? Now, we call this the moonshot of our generation. This is literally a moonshot, just like, man was going to the moon by the end of the decade in 1960. We are saying we need to get to a completely non-violent civilization by 2026.
Yeah, that's the data on this is truly terrifying. And when I had seen the first information on the oceans, and I started to do, like your wife suggested, go do some research. And the more I was researching, the more I was stunned at what was going on with these massive factory farming ships, and all these factory farming ships are all coming to the Pacific Ocean because most of the other oceans are depleted. And the more I unpacked it, the more shocked I was at what I was really reading.
Right.
No, I agree, Dan. I mean, things are alarming. But I think, Sailesh, I think people will like to hear, and I will also like to hear, what is the connection? I mean, how you are saying that change your food habit and the climate changes. I mean, it sounds a little far-fetched for many people. So can you draw that connection for us?
That's a very, very good question. In fact, it's one of the first questions I asked Al Gore during the training. Because, I'm an engineer, right? So I'm looking at numbers. And I'm looking at numbers and I'm saying, wait a minute. We are using 37% of the land area of the planet just to graze our animals. Okay? 37% of the ice-free land area of the planet just to graze our animals. And land has 3 times as much carbon as the atmosphere. climate change is happening because the atmosphere has 30% more carbon than it used to have. So if I want to draw down 30% of the carbon in the atmosphere, I need to just increase the carbon on land by 10%. And I say, wait a minute. 37% of the land is used for just grazing these animals, and I need to increase the carbon on land by 10%. Can you not do that by just removing the animals from the land? So I asked that question to Al Gore during the training. And he looked at Roy Neal, his chief of staff, and he said, how does this guy get in here? Because he didn't want to hear it. Okay? He didn't want to hear it. So then I dug into it. I went to the University of Illinois. I worked with the professor there, Professor Atul Jain. And we found out that 37% of the land is only storing 2% of the land carbon. Okay? So there's a huge potential there for reversing climate change just by bringing back the forest that used to be there. So we calculated that if we just bring back the original forest that used to be there on that land, and so we had data by year 1800. So we looked at the 1800 data, and we replaced grasslands, grazing lands, with the original forest if there used to be a forest there in 1800. And that alone increased the carbon on land by 265 gigatons, which is more than the 240 gigatons we've added to the atmosphere since 1750. And that was only on 41% of that land, because the other 59% were deforested before 1800, so we don't have a record on that. So we don't know which forests were there. But we know there were forests everywhere. And it's only by grazing animals and cutting down the forest to graze animals that we turned forests into deserts. So it's literally a matter of reversing what we did. Just bring back the original forest and you can reverse climate change. It's so easy. I mean, it's so simple to even understand, right? Because it's just mathematics. You have 3 times as much carbon on land. This is not complicated mathematics either. So I couldn't figure out why climate scientists were not talking about this until I went to their meeting in 2015. So I went to the AGU meeting in San Francisco in 2015, where we presented about this land use solution. Okay, we just showed that you can literally reverse climate change by bringing back the forest. So then I went to their banquet dinner. So it's a week-long meeting that happens every year. This is the American Geophysical Union fall meeting. And it's the largest gathering of climate scientists that happens every year. So about 20,000 climate scientists come for this meeting. So I went to their annual banquet dinner, and their main course was steak. So you understand why they're not talking about it. Because it's like there is this blind spot, okay? This huge blind spot. And you look at the IPCC's, the way the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is presenting the data is there, okay? But it's how do you frame the data? And as an engineer, I look at that data and I would fire a scientist who did that to me, who gave me a report like that. If they came to me and if I was working on the internet and someone came and gave me a scientific paper like that, I would tell them to go redo it. because there was obvious biases in the way they're talking about things. Because you see, science is about asking questions and then answering them, right? So basically asking hypotheses, doing hypotheses, and then testing those hypotheses. And by framing the right questions, you can just put blind spots all over the place. Like if someone came and asked you, is there a way that heater caused the fire in the house? And the scientist would say, yeah, of course there's a way, because the heater just could have caught fire and threw something. But the engineer knew that it was the car that caught fire, because the engineer is looking at the most probable reason. He's not looking for any possible reason, right? So that's why science tends to be all over the place, whereas engineering tends to be focused. Because we have to deal with the truth in engineering. Otherwise, whatever we are building is not going to work. So the IPCC is basically a scientific report done with the aid of politicians, because it's an intergovernmental panel on climate change. And the politicians are saying, I don't like this, I don't like this. And they keep changing the story. Right? So the story is not about animal agriculture at all. They are just focusing on fossil fuels, even though the numbers are so stark, right? I mean, what I just explained to you, how hard is that to understand? 37% of the land is grazing, it only has 2% of the carbon. Hey, if I can make that 20%, I would reverse it. I don't even have to put it to the average. So,
yeah, it's pretty clear.
Yeah. I mean, it's so clear. It was so clear to me for a long time, and I was deeply puzzled as to why climate scientists don't talk about it until I went to that meeting. And I saw what was going on.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a short break here for a commercial break, and we'll be right back with Sailesh to talk about some additional insights around the climate and the climate healers and how we all can do our part. Thank you.
If you want the most compelling, universally available platform in the practicing of meditation, mindfulness, and intermittent silence, then you need to know about the app called Relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's, because when you go to this app, you really do relax. It helps your body, quiets your mind, and connects you to your flame in the world of consciousness. It's always with you, so you can use it any time. Isn't this your time to be peaceful, happy, and prosperous? Find out more at relax.org.
If you're looking for unique items at affordable prices, then you should try Dream Product. From apparel to beauty, from shoes to therapeutic relief products, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Dream Products, and maybe your dreams might just come into reality.
Imagine living everyday life on purpose. Now imagine yourself easily navigating through life's changes and stress from a soul level. For insights into the journey of the human soul, let Dr. Krishna Bhatta be your guide. His book, Journey from Life to Life, will help you demystify life, death, and everything in between. It gives you clarity on how you can have a successful life and a smooth transition into the world beyond. Who wouldn't want that? Get Journey from Life to Life by Krishna Bhatta, MD, at Amazon.com.
You have too little time to shop, so try Farm Fresh to You. They deliver organic food the way nature intended, delivered straight to your home or office, economically. Visit our web advertiser page and click on Farm Fresh to You now.
Feel like the super person you are meant to be? It's easy at liveandbreathesolutions.com. They don't just talk about healthy living. Their superfoods are combined with products you use daily, so you're actually getting a healthy living at great prices, too. Imagine chocolate, gluten-free organic snacks, mixes, and ingredients, all but a click away at liveandbreathesolutions.com. So make life simple to be healthier. Just live and breathe and go to liveandbreathesolutions.com.
This is Jack Maher from the band Feed the Kitty. It's important to support the artists you love, and you can do that and get something authentic for yourself. Rock.com has the most coveted licensed merchandise of music, culture, and entertainment. So go to the advertiser page and click on Rock.com now.
Make your day start out right. Coffee and tea are what most people need to help start their day. So it's no secret that you want the very best taste. That's where coffeeandchai.com comes in. They're proud to display a variety of coffee and tea from all over the world. They have a wonderful assortment of coffee flavors, and talk about teas. They have all kinds for the body, mind, and soul, which are great to drink any time of day. Visit coffeeandchai.com now. That's coffee, the letter N, chai.com. coffeeandchai.com.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. This is your host, Dan Reardon, with co-host Dr. Krishna and our guest, Dr. Sailesh Rao. We're back for some additional discussion around climate healers, and what we can all be doing. question I wanted to kick off in this segment with is if you can give us some insight on where we're making some good progress and what kind of things are, generating that progress so that we all can kind of get a feeling for how things are moving and where some good things are happening.
Yeah, see, the vegan movement is the fastest growing social justice movement in the world today. So that gives me great faith that we're going to turn this around. Because human beings, we can change really fast compared to any other species. We can actually adapt. We are very adaptive as a species. But we are also a herd species, meaning we tend to follow the herd. And but in any species, there are these explorers who go out and try new things, and then there are the conservatives who stick to what they know. And you need both in any species, because otherwise the explorers could be doing something silly, and if everybody follows them, the species will go extinct, right? So you need both in any species. But when an exploring group gets bigger and bigger and bigger because they have found something better, then eventually the conservatives will rush to that. Because that's how social change happens. Because that becomes the new normal. And so this is what gives me great hope. Because to me, veganism is just like any infection. It's like an infection. So you need, but it's an infection in a good way, right? So you need more and more people to get infected by it. So you need to minimize the social distancing. You need to go and propagate as much as possible. Talk about it. Get people to see that fundamentally we are all vegan. I went to a school, right, and I asked these 200 high school students, how many of you are vegan? And there was only one kid who raised his hand. Then I asked them, so how many of you would deliberately hurt an innocent animal unnecessarily? And nobody raised their hand. So I told them, by definition, all of you are vegan. That's what you are in your heart. But who you are and what you do are not in alignment. And when that happens, you are actually suffering. Except for that kid who raised his hand. He's not suffering because what he's doing is in alignment with his heart. Right? So suddenly everybody is looking at him as, wow, I need to be there, like that guy. Until then, he was the odd kid out. Right? And people were not, because he was outside the herd, so to speak. So it's that transformation that's happening now. People coming into alignment with who we really are.
Yeah, it's so encouraging. I know for myself over the last 4 years, since I transitioned to fully plant-based vegan diet, the amount of products that are now available, the ease of which it is to find solutions when you're going out to dinner or you're going out to eat, I'm so encouraged by what I'm seeing available. It's making it easier and easier for everybody. So you can definitely feel that the movement is taking hold.
Absolutely. In fact, most of the people who buy vegan products are not vegan. So a majority of people are testing the waters. So they are saying, okay, maybe we should be there. Because it doesn't feel right, what is going on now with the planet, what's going on now with the animals. Because all these videos are showing up now on YouTube, so people can see it. They know what's happening in the factory farms, and that's not a right thing to do to the animals. They're seeing what's happening to the environment. They're seeing what's happening to the pandemics came from an animal. In fact, most pandemics come from animals. So I asked Dr. Aisha Akhtar, who is one of the leading experts on infectious diseases, how do you get these infectious diseases? And she said, anytime animals are stressed, that's a potential source for another pandemic. Because when you stress animals, their adrenaline takes over. And so the viruses are multiplying within them because their immune system is compromised. So I said, where are the animals stressed? Well, they are stressed everywhere. They are stressed in slaughterhouses, in factory farms, in experimental labs, in zoos, in circuses. So we are running this giant Monte Carlo simulation saying, when is the next pandemic going to come? By torturing animals. So, and of course you're going to get another one if you keep doing this. So it makes sense.
Dr. Rao,
to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Rao, I didn't mean to disturb you or break you, but one of the things I wanted to hear from you is, so what does your climate healing program do? So, and where can people get in touch with you if they had any questions or they want to know more about you?
Sure. So we have a website, climatehealers.org, where we are uploading all of our research data and research papers. We have a number of documentaries that we have done. We are executive producers of 4 documentaries right now. It's a Cowspiracy, The Human Experiment, What the Health, and A Prayer for Compassion. And then there are 4 other documentaries that are going to come out within the next year. So we are looking at every angle and trying to show people that there is a common theme. And this all has to do with our treatment of nature. And we are treating nature in a way that is the exact opposite of who we really are. Because we are fundamentally compassionate creatures. We don't like to see other beings getting hurt. But we are sort of paying someone else to do it for us, and then trying to distance ourselves from it. So that's the kind of education that we are trying to do. So it's really mostly about education because, as Anthony de Mello said, the world does not need to be changed. It needs to be understood. And when you understand the world, you will change. And then the world will change with you.
Yeah, I absolutely love that quote.
That sounds very good. The research, so you do on your own, or the climate healers do the research, and where do you do the research that you put out?
So far I have been doing the research on behalf of climate healers, and now I have lots of other retired scientists who are joining me to help me with the research. So Jared Bishop has now joined us, and he's doing a bunch of videos, basically explaining some things, because I tend to write things up as papers, and so I have discussion papers on our website, and I've written books. But Jared is much better at explaining things in short videos, which is what he's doing. So, we basically do the research and we try to then convey the information to people, either through books or videos or documentaries, and spread the word. And then we run campaigns. We are starting a campaign to get the UN to drop goal number 8 in the Sustainable Development Goals, because there are 17 goals, of which goal number 8 is economic growth. And we are saying, that's an excuse. That's like a Trojan horse you put in there so that you can maintain the system, because if you take out economic growth and you meet all the other goals, do we really care that some number is growing? Right? If you meet zero hunger, no poverty, good health and well-being, I don't care whether the economy is growing or not. So it's a Trojan horse. And so every nation who signed the Sustainable Development Goals is pretending to meet all the other goals by just growing the economy. So that's the kind of game that they're playing with us. And we just have to point out to them, hey, we know you're playing a game, and we know this is the reason why it's not working. So we are asking them to drop goal number 8 and replace it with goal number 18, which is Claire Smith's goal. And Claire Smith for Beyond Animal, she came up with this, which is zero animal exploitation. So let's have a goal of zero animal exploitation. And that makes meeting all the other goals easy, because it's very easy to say, we can do it, zero animal exploitation, right? We can do it.
So, Dr. Rao, we're going to take another short break here and love your insights, and we'll be back with some additional topics in our Cauliflower Moments and other discussions with Dr. Rao after this short break. Thank you.
Your world is colored with beliefs, values, and illusions, which interpret how you process the signals you receive from others. Now there's a way in which you can quickly learn how to interpret these signals correctly, and without self-sabotaging yourself in the process. In Dan Reardon's book, Signals Proven Methods will help you see things more clearly, so you can act with purpose and achieve your goals, while attaining a more peaceful, happy life. Get your copy of Signals by Dan Reardon today at Amazon.com or wherever fine books are sold.
This is Jack Maher from the band Feed the Kitty. It's important to support the artists you love, and you can do that and get something authentic for yourself. Rock.com has the most coveted licensed merchandise of music, culture, and entertainment. So go to the advertiser page and click on Rock.com now.
If you want the most compelling, universally available platform in the practicing of meditation, mindfulness, and intermittent silence, then you need to know about the app called Relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's, because when you go to this app, you really do relax. It helps your body, quiets your mind, and connects you to your flame in the world of consciousness. It's always with you, so you can use it any time. Isn't this your time to be peaceful, happy, and prosperous? Find out more at relax.org.
Get high-quality glasses, sunglasses, and prescription lenses at eyeglasses.com. Choose from over 250,000 items and 400 brands. Already have frames? Get replacement lenses. It's easy. Go to our advertiser page and click eyeglasses.com.
Imagine living everyday life on purpose. Now imagine yourself easily navigating through life's changes and stress from a soul level. For insights into the journey of the human soul, let Dr. Krishna Bhatta be your guide. His book, Journey from Life to Life, will help you demystify life, death, and everything in between. It gives you clarity on how you can have a successful life and a smooth transition into the world beyond. Who wouldn't want that? Get Journey from Life to Life by Krishna Bhatta, MD, at Amazon.com.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. I'm your host, Dan Reardon, with co-host Dr. Krishna, and also with us is Dr. Sailesh Rao, and we've been discussing about the climate healers and about his big mission and his big transformation that he's pursuing. In this segment, we want to talk about what we've termed that cauliflower moment, where you realize the belief you've held on to, that you stopped and questioned it, and you wound up really forming an entirely new belief. And I know in our discussions, Sailesh, that you have a couple that fit into this, and I think they kind of are synergistic, they go together. So I'm going to let you give everybody a little bit of insight into that.
Yeah, so it's the belief about milk, the importance of dairy consumption, and the impact of dairy consumption. So I've been reading, I've been researching about this starting in 2006, and I read these papers that said that milk is actually just a little bit worse than eating plants. It's only a little bit worse. And I bought into it at first. And but then I went to India. I went to this forest in Rajasthan, and I saw what was happening there, and I realized that I had been fooled. That it's a matter of accounting. How do you account for things? So they were putting a lot of the impact of raising cows on the beef consumer. They're putting it on the beef consumer and minimizing the impact caused by the dairy consumer. But it's all one and the same. In fact, in India, especially with the cow, people don't want to kill the cow. So they were letting the cow live for 25 years in this village. And I saw these old cows walking around eating up anything new that's growing on the ground. And I realized that I was responsible for that as a dairy consumer. I was causing that to happen. And I realized that, from an engineering perspective, drinking milk is the equivalent of eating beef. It's just that, if you let the cows live for 25 years, they're going to be there for another extra 20 years eating up the forest. And when the cows finish eating, there is nothing for the deer to eat. So the deer dies. When the deer dies, the tiger dies. So the entire ecological cascade were being caused by my dairy consumption. So I went vegan on the spot. I mean, I had this sense of shame that I was fooling myself. And then I went vegan on the spot. And at first I thought, how can I do this? Because don't I need milk for calcium? And then I did my research, and sure enough, there's plenty of calcium in plant-based foods. Drinking milk is bad for your bones, not good for your bones. And I thought, I was so shocked at reading some of this research, because I realized I had been lied to in school. I'd been lied to in school. Okay? So, in fact, I got angry when I realized I'd been lied to in school. Because I think it is unconscionable that adults could put lies in textbooks for children just to promote some marketing agenda of some industry. Okay? So that's when I started seeing the connection between animal agriculture and colonialism, and all this reframing of stories that happens under colonialism. So anyway, I went vegan on the spot, and then I said, okay, maybe I love my pizza, I love my yogurt, rice, and all these standard dishes that we eat in Indian food, and can I really do this? So I told myself I'm going to give myself a week to do it. So 1 week I'm going to be strict and do it. And at the end of the week, I had this huge sense of relief that I could do this. This is easy. It's not that hard. Because I could make yogurt with soy milk. I did that. I actually made curry with soy milk. So I was making all these traditional Indian dishes with soy yogurt. And then I found that there are vegan cheeses available, and they were just as good. So I said, okay, I don't need to eat this anymore. So when I realized I could do this, I had this huge sense of relief, that some guilt that lifted off my shoulders. And I didn't know why I had that guilt. Then I went back to the village a year later, and I witnessed a woman milking her cow. And that's when I remembered something from my childhood. Because the way the woman was milking the cows, she released the calf, and the calf just ran to the mother and started drinking milk. And within 30 seconds, she was pulling the calf away from the mother. Okay, and the calf was fighting her because he hadn't even started. So then she called her husband over, and they both pulled the calf away from the mother. They tied the calf in front of the mother. The mother is now licking her baby, and the baby is bleating because he hadn't even started. So the mother is licking her baby, and the woman milks at least 2 gallons of milk out of the cow, and there was nothing left. So then she releases the calf, and the calf runs back and starts sucking again. It sends a message to the mother saying, you don't have enough milk, so eat more so you can produce more milk next time. So that's the feedback loop between the mother and the child, that we interfere, as human beings. So then I remembered a conversation between my grandmother and my grandfather when I was 7 years old. I overheard my grandmother tell my grandfather that this particular calf is drinking too much. Is not leaving enough milk for the children. And what do I do? And my grandfather told my grandmother, don't let him drink to his fill. Pull him away after 10 minutes. So at that point, as a child, I knew that there was something wrong going on. But I tried to put it away in the back of my mind and forget about it. And that was the guilt I had. So that was building up in me all the time. And so I had arthritis, okay, since the age of 40. And that arthritis went away within a month after I went vegan. And I think it was mostly psychosomatic. I had this arthritis because I had that guilt all along. So I think as children we know and then we can kind of get conditioned out of it. But we can remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun to listen to your journey in that process, and it's so relatable for myself. And I felt similar pangs of this realization of, wow, I had been lied to, but I also was kind of stunned at my own lack of stopping to question anything. I just went along with everything that was kind of like the common belief system, and I never stopped to question any of it. And I had a similar mindset as you of saying, gosh, I went into it thinking, okay, I'm going to try for a month. And what happened to my physiology in a month, and then all of a sudden I started tasting food completely differently, and the whole experience of it really got me excited about the journey that I was beginning. But it was so similar to your process of that awakening and that knowing that's present there. So really appreciate you sharing that. It's a big moment, and I know that a lot of us all think it's such a big mountain to climb to make this kind of a change, but it actually gets simpler than you realize. So with that, we're going to take our next short break, and we'll be right back with our final segment, and Dr. Krishna will be leading that. Thank you.
Explore your inner universe with your own portable guru. You'll discover the benefits of intermittent silence, meditation, and mindfulness, which will help you in every area of your life. At relax.org, you'll learn to conserve, channel, and use your energy in constructive ways while helping to keep your body healthy and your mind relaxed. Relax.org is your chance to consistently experience stress-free, purposeful living at its best. Where is this portable guru? At relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's. Feel like the super person you are meant to be? It's easy at liveandbreathesolutions.com. They don't just talk about healthy living. Their superfoods are combined with products you use daily, so you're actually getting a healthy living at great prices, too. Imagine chocolate, gluten-free organic snacks, mixes, and ingredients, all but a click away at liveandbreathesolutions.com. So make life simple to be healthier. Just live and breathe and go to liveandbreathesolutions.com. Your world is colored with beliefs, values, and illusions, which interpret how you process the signals you receive from others. Now there's a way in which you can quickly learn how to interpret these signals correctly and without self-sabotaging yourself in the process. In Dan Reardon's book, Signals Proven Methods will help you see things more clearly, so you can act with purpose and achieve your goals, while attaining a more peaceful, happy life. Get your copy of Signals by Dan Reardon today at Amazon.com or wherever fine books are sold. Imagine living everyday life on purpose. Now imagine yourself easily navigating through life's changes and stress from a soul level. For insights into the journey of the human soul, let Dr. Krishna Bhatta be your guide. His book, Journey from Life to Life, will help you demystify life, death, and everything in between. It gives you clarity on how you can have a successful life and a smooth transition into the world beyond. Who wouldn't want that? Get Journey from Life to Life by Krishna Bhatta, MD, at Amazon.com.
More exhilarating talk. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. I'm your host, Dan Reardon, with co-host Dr. Krishna, and with us is our guest, Dr. Sailesh Rao. In this segment, Krishna is going to lead this discussion, so take it away, Dr. K.
Thank you, Dan. Welcome to Relax with 2X Radio. And one of the things we have is the Relax app, which focuses on 3 entities like mind, body, and the flame of consciousness. We all have individual flame of consciousness, individual consciousness within us, which opens the door to the bigger consciousness. And Dr. Rao is with us, and his talk about this vegan and changing your diet can change the climate. Reminds me of some verses from Gita where Krishna says, Annad bhavanti bhutani. So Anna is the one that sustains all the living animals, including human beings. And then he goes on to say how there is a connectivity between human beings, food, and beyond, like the other parallel universe, if you believe in divine or, say, external forces. So how much of an impact an external force or angels or God or divine has in anything that we do? And has Dr. Rao found any influence from those forces or sources, or has he felt that? And we want to hear that from him.
Oh, wonderful question. Yeah, one of the, in 2009, after I had gone vegan, actually, I went to this forest in the Western Ghats of India, and I had this sense of perfection in nature. Everything fits so beautifully. Right? The animals just live, and the forest thrives because of that. And so every animal just does their thing. Every animal knows their part in the ecosystem. They're playing a part. And I felt, and I asked the owner, how did you make this happen? And she said, well, we had to just make sure that no human being comes inside. And at that point, I felt like I don't belong in my own home because I was born in that forest. I just 200 miles away from that forest, from where I was standing. So then, a year later, my granddaughter was born. And I came to see her when she was a month old. So I had this, sense of separation, that I don't belong in nature. But when I saw her, she looked up at me and she smiled. And I saw all of humanity in her. And her smile was so beautiful that I felt that sense, the same sense of perfection. And I realized that she belongs exactly as she is. And that we all must belong exactly as we are. And that we're not telling the right story. So that as part of this transformation that's happening now, we are going to go from our caterpillar phase to our butterfly phase. So, and we are in this process of this. We are now in the chrysalis. Literally, we're in the chrysalis as the caterpillar is now dissolving. Literally dissolving. You can see all of our systems and our structures are all crumbling in front of us, right? And so now we are called to build the system of the butterfly. And that's what we have to be doing now. So I see human beings as being part of nature. We've always been part of nature. And actually nature has used human beings to create homeostasis for planet Earth. And literally that's what has happened in the last 10,000 years. We kept the temperature constant for 10,000 years as human beings. We did that by cutting down forests. And we prevented the Earth from going back to another ice age. And now, over the last 200 years, we raised the temperature by 1 degree Celsius through our industrial activities. But in the process, we have created all the instruments and the tools we need to become the thermostat species of the planet. So we have really done our work in the caterpillar phase to empower ourselves for the butterfly phase that we are entering. So I see this as a beautiful story unfolding, and that we are in the middle of it. And I'm so lucky to be born at this time to witness this happening, to see this transformation happening, and to play a part in it. And so I think, once we pull this off, we're going to have to do this. Yeah, we're going to have to get to a vegan world by 2026. But once we do it, we're going to look back and say, wow, that was amazing what we did.
Oh, that's a great cause you are working for, Dr. Rao, and we definitely look forward to seeing, you succeed, and I'm sure you are doing everything that's the right thing in this direction for finding peace, as you mentioned, and be feeling that great peaceful and happiness. we have this app that you can download and try it out and do the meditation or do intermittent silence and just it's time to relax sometimes.
Right, absolutely. It's
and to reaffirm one more time, Dr. Rao, how can people connect with you and your organization?
Yeah, just get on climatehealers.org and sign up for our newsletters. You can sign up for our base camp. So we're going to have. So we have an incubator where we do serious work. Where all the research work is being done in the back, and a newsletter where we send out information about what we are doing. We have convergences every 3 months, so we get together and talk about our progress towards the vegan world. And so the convergences are. You can see there are more and more people attending the convergence every 3 months. So you see that there is a growth in the movement.
Yeah, that's great. And I was really excited to hear you say you have more documentaries coming out, because I've enjoyed each of the documentaries and even the other documentaries that you lead people to. They've all had an impact on myself and others that I've referred them to. So I can't wait for your next one of those to come online when it's ready. So thank you again. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm also looking forward to those documentaries coming out. COVID-19 has sort of delayed it a bit, but it's going to come out. They're all going to come out this year.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Sailesh, for joining us. This has been great, eye-opening, as always, and I really appreciated connecting and you spending the time with us today. You can find this and other shows on demand on healthylife.net, and you can also find out more about our company, Relax, by going to relaxx.org. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.